What you're about to see is unrestricted footage from Microsoft's new flight simulator. For the first time, I'm able to show you footage I have personally recorded on my PC, which I've done in a widescreen cinematic format. Releasing on the 18th of August 2020, Microsoft Flight Simulator is possibly the most exciting sim release in years, combining a number of technologies to bring authentic flying to everyone. In this video, I'll give you my first look at this exciting new sim, what's there, what's coming, what you'll need, and what the future might hold. So let's get started. Flight simulation can be traced back to the early 80s running on IBM PCs. Being a sim, it's improved over the decades, taking us closer to the feeling of flight. More recently, flight simmers have come to expect a fairly recognizable formula. Buy into a platform such as FSX, P3D or X-Plane, receive varying degrees of flight model simulation, controller support, and a basic representation of the world, and then proceed to buy and install add-ons to improve scenery, airports, weather, cloud, aircraft, etc. One side effect of the desire to have more realistic scenery in airports is the ever-increasing demand on hard drive space with which to install it on. I personally ran a 6TB drive just to support my Western US and Europe ortho scenery. It took many hours and various tools to render, and it never got updated. If we then consider that most flight sims are mature, evolving platforms, and none of them are truly taking advantage of modern hardware, what you have is an entire section of the simming world slowly evolving, but never truly taking a leap forward. But that is all about to change. With a one-to-one representation of the entire world, combining aerial and satellite imagery, all stored and updated on Microsoft data centers and neatly streamed on demand to your PC, we no longer need to worry about scenery add-ons or hard drive space. Entire cities, over 400 in fact, have been scanned and accurately represented down to 5cm resolutions. Forests, mountains, deserts, lakes, rivers, roads. The sheer scale and detail of what is available to you in Microsoft Flight Sim is staggering. And then there's the sky, quite important for us aviators. Volumetric 3D clouds that form and dissipate, layered winds, moving air masses that rise and fall over land masses, heating and cooling as they go, rain that isn't constant but falls as and where it should depending on weather cell characteristics. You can see it for yourself when you sit and play with the weather settings. Move layers and clouds up and down, adjust their height, coverage, scattering, set precipitation levels, temperature and humidity, adjust wind layers, set the direction, the speed, gust settings, sit back and watch it simulate the weather dynamically. It's a meteorologist's dream, and we get to play with this and then fly through it. Then there's the lighting, which is physically accurate. Light scatters, reflects, casts shadows, is affected by humidity and pollution, and emits not just globally from the sun, but from all light sources such as streetlights, buildings, and airports. Nighttime VFR is possible worldwide. Now, setting up weather and playing around with settings is fun, but it really gets cool when you play with the time of day. Of course, the date that you set affects the position of the sun relative to your position on Earth, and this in turn affects the quality, temperature, and luminosity of the sunlight in the scene. When you slide the time of day bar, you'll immediately see the effects as shadows move across buildings. The sky's color changes. Cloud shadows move across each other and the hills below. It's a ton of fun and something I've really enjoyed doing as I've set the perfect settings to fly in. You remember how I said that the sky is being modeled with 3D clouds, layered winds and precipitation cells and an ever-evolving dynamic atmosphere? Well, you feel it when you fly. Each aircraft has over 1,000 simulated surfaces which contribute to lift and drag and other forces which move the plane as it flies. In the cockpit, your instrument will show what is happening. When you look out the window, you will see what the weather is doing and what's coming your way. It all combines to create an authentic flying experience. When I jumped into the Robin DR400, an aircraft closely related to what I did my PPL in, and flew around London with TrackIR head tracking enabled, it was a visceral experience. I don't think I've ever felt as close to the real thing as I did then. Let's talk about what you get when you buy Microsoft Flight Sim. Well, apart from getting a flight sim platform that's truly groundbreaking, what you get depends on which version of the sim you buy. There are 3 packages you can buy, all of which are available to buy digitally in the Windows Store and soon on Steam, I believe, and there's a CD box set from various outlets. There are 3 editions: Standard, Deluxe and Premium Deluxe, and they retail for $60, $90 and $120 respectively. The only difference between the editions is in the base aircraft and the handcrafted airports that you receive. Let me explain. So although you get the entire world at your disposal when you fly around in your aircraft of choice, not all airports have been recreated to the same degree of fidelity. Most of the 37,000 airports have been procedurally generated and touched up by hand. Others have been beautifully handcrafted. Standard comes with 30 handcrafted airports, Deluxe adds another 5, and Premium Edition another 5 again for a total of 40. As you might expect, the more major airports such as Heathrow, Dubai, Denver, Frankfurt and San Francisco only come with the Premium Deluxe. To be clear, you will still get these airports, it's just whether you get the handcrafted version of them. It's a similar story with aircraft. Standard gets 20 aircraft, Deluxe adds another 5, and Premium Deluxe another 5 again. Standard comes with a good mix of GA, turboprop, jets and airliners, including an Airbus A320neo and a 747-800. If you want to fly the 787 Dreamliner though, you'll need the Premium Deluxe. All editions come with some great resources such as tutorials which teach you how to take off, land, fly a traffic pattern, etc. Plus some fantastic landing challenges and extended bus trips. All are great to ease you into flying and give you ideas about where to go. It's pretty daunting at first knowing where to fly when you're faced with the entire world to choose from, so these really help. What about other aircraft, or air traffic control, AI and multiplayer aircraft? How is that handled? Although I've not played around with it a great deal, currently it does work pretty well. The sim has a built-in ATC which you can turn on, handle yourself or hand over to an AI co-pilot. If you like, you can turn it off altogether. When it comes to multiplayer though, Microsoft's high-capacity servers are being utilised to their full. You'll be able to communicate and work together with others in the server, as well as interact with real-world traffic being flown by AI. There'll be various modes or flight rules you can fly under, so you can fly alone, with real-world AI traffic, with everyone playing Microsoft Flight Sim, or just simply with your friends. With VATSIM support already announced and others such as IVAO and Pilot Edge surely following suit, you'll be able to take your real flying experience as deep as you want it to be. So what of the requirements? What are you going to need to play Microsoft Flight Sim? Well, down at the absolute minimum, you have a Ryzen 3 or an Intel i5 CPU, a Radeon 570 or GTX 770 graphics card, 8GB of RAM, 150GB of hard drive space, and 5 megabit internet speed. Recommended requirements are a beefier Ryzen 5 or an Intel i5, a Radeon 590 or GTX 970 card, 16GB of RAM, and a 20 megabits internet speed. Note that the internet speed is a little misleading as you can in fact pre-download and cache areas before flying to avoid heavy downloads during flight. The ideal spec brings us up to a good Ryzen 7 or an Intel i7, a Radeon 7 or RTX 2080 card, 32GB of RAM and installation on an SSD, and 50 megabits of download. Yes, 50, but as I said, take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt. In my own testing, bearing in mind I have a very good CPU, I found the GPU to be the bottleneck. This thing pushes my 2080 Ti like I've never seen anything push it bar a 3D Mark benchmark test. Nvidia's much touted 3000 series graphics cards coming out later this year sure look timely to me. And let's not forget about peripherals. You could fly with a mouse and keyboard or an Xbox controller, but there are better options. I'll of course cover these in a future video. Suffice it to say, control button and axis mapping is good. It's not quite DCS good, but it's decent enough. It's an ongoing process though, so if your favourite panel may not be supported on release day, then you may just have to wait a bit longer. Now, what of the future? What's coming and where is this sim platform going? Microsoft plans to continually update and support the sim for the next decade, with meaningful content released every month. Every 2 to 4 months they will issue some free world updates focusing on an area of the world, adding new satellite images, aerial images, fields, etc., custom airports, custom missions, the list goes on. Updates to the sim itself will alternate with these real-world updates. VR support is not in the sim yet, but it is high on their priority list. Track IR support is currently in beta and may or may not make the release date. It seems to be working well for me though, so personally I don't see why it won't be there on release day. Future paid DLC will come out every 2 to 3 months with plans to include helicopters, helicopter experiences and heliports. Although there is multiplayer, there's no shared cockpit support currently. As for third-party support, Microsoft has been hard at work behind the scenes working with various well-known brands. Mailbox are bringing their existing creations over, as well as new AAA creations not yet announced. BMDG are bringing their entire fleet over to Microsoft Flight Simulator, including their 777. Finally, this is a PC release on 18th of August. Xbox release is at a later date, currently not announced. So what's coming from me? Well, lots of content. Honestly, I'm very excited by Microsoft Flight Simulator and I'll be spending a lot of time in it. Ahead of release, I want to show you more content from the sim so that you can see what it's capable of. I have some series planned as well, so look out for those. Hope you found this first look informative and helpful. No doubt you have many questions remaining. It's simply not possible to cover everything in a single video, so subscribe for future videos and your questions in the comments and I'll pick them up. That's all from me. Take care guys, and happy flying.